The binding. Hey Booktube, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel, The Book Bag. Today I'm going to be doing the Book Addictions tag, which is a series of 14 questions I think is supposed to really show just how addicted you are to books. So without further ado, let's start. The first question is, what is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? I don't know, like half a work day? I feel like I pick up a book every single day. Even if I'm like not really in a great reading mood, I still try and read something because who am I if I'm not reading? That's my whole personality. So like I'll just wither away, be like an Avengers, like the snap, and just dust. So they're like less than a day probably. So question number 2 is, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device at any one time? I usually carry like one physical book with me at all times. I am known amongst my friend groups for always having a book in my purse, even when we're like going to events, like we'll go to like the movie theater or whatever. Back when movie theaters were a thing. Ugh. But I would bring a book with me in my purse so that I could, read if I got there before anyone else or if we're waiting for things. So I generally have at least one book on me. I don't really read like ebooks or audiobooks at all, so it's always like a physical book. I specifically bought my purse so that it could fit a physical book inside of it. Question number 3 is, do you keep every book you buy/receive, or are you happy to pass them on to make space for more? I tend to keep most of the books that I buy, like the vast majority, like probably 98% of them. The only times that I will give up books are when I just like really did not like them. I do have like a few books that I own that I haven't read yet that have been sitting on my shelves for quite a while that I might get rid of. But for the most part, I try to only buy books that I think I'm really going to enjoy, and then I do enjoy them, so then I keep them. The next question is, how long would you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? I have a friend who refuses to go to bookstores with me anymore because they're like, I want to be in there for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, you mean 2 hours, right? So I will spend like a really long time in bookstores. Probably less so now that I actually work at a bookstore and I know like what the new books are for the most part. But yeah, at least half an hour, usually an hour or more. So unless you're ready for some like hardcore book shopping, you don't want to come to a bookstore with me. Next question is, how much time per day do you actually spend reading? That really depends on what I'm up to and like what book I'm reading, because if it's really good, then I will drop everything else and just read it for hours on end. And then if I'm busy, then I can't read, but I probably read at least 1 hour a day, even if it's just like before bedtime or on my like lunch hour at work. So I'd say at least an hour a day, probably more than that though. Question number 6 is, where does the task picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? I don't usually have much of a daily to-do list. I know I have my bullet journal, but that's kind of like, I don't know, a broader to-do list, and I don't know, I don't write everything down in it. But I would say reading is like almost my default. If I'm not doing anything else and I haven't gotten sucked into the social media black hole of despair, then I'm probably reading. And I will like bring a book with me wherever I'm going in the apartment so that I can read while I just like exist. I guess it doesn't really appear on my to-do list. It's just kind of like the background noise of my to-do list. It's just constantly like, do you have free time? You should read a book. Question number 7 is, how many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? I don't really own any ebooks, so we can get rid of those. But I think last I checked, I try and keep track of them in Goodreads. I try and like mark all the books that I buy in Goodreads as ones that I own. Let's see if I can pull up the number. It's over 300. I think it's over 350. 391 according to Goodreads. And there's a few, I think, behind me that I haven't put in there yet. So I probably own like 400 books. So the next question is, approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? Like fairly often. I mean, I work at a bookstore, so like the majority of my conversations there revolve around books. A large chunk of the time I'm talking to my boyfriend about like YouTube things, which also revolves around books. And I feel like the other part of my time, I'm talking about books that I've read or I'm currently reading. So, like, always, maybe? Very often. I talk about books, like, yeah, pretty often. I promise it's not the only thing I talk about. I do know how to talk about other topics and, like, you know, exist in the real world, but currently a lot of my life revolves around book-related things, so I do talk a lot about books. Right. Question number 9 is, what is the biggest book page count you have finished reading? I think it might be The Stand by Stephen King. Hold on. Goodreads can also help us with this one because it tells you in your year of reading what the longest book was you read each year. Okay, so definitely not last year. So I can't really find on Goodreads, but I did read The Stand, and that book is over 1,000 pages, so we're gonna go with that one. Question number 10, is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds, like search to bookstore, online digging, stalked author, etc.? I would say probably The Binding. The Binding, which I had tracked down in the UK because the Canadian, like, this cover is very beautiful, but on the UK edition, the cover underneath is even better. Like, it's so gorgeous, and it's got these wonderful end papers. And the Canadian edition did not look like this. It was just like white and black replica of the dust jacket underneath. So I tracked this down through like several different sites in the UK. Like, I think I was looking at like Waterstones and like, what is the other place? I don't know. Another bookstore, and then like through like thrift books and stuff, ebooks. Until I found the one that I was pretty sure was going to be this edition with that fancy gold underneath the cover. And then I sent the link to my boyfriend, and I was like, hey, you know, for a good Christmas gift, you should buy me this book. And then he did, and it's beautiful, and I have absolutely no regrets, and it's my prettiest book I own. Question number 11. Is there a book you struggled to finish because you refused to DNF? I'm sure there is. I tend not to DNF books, or at least not like officially. Sometimes I'll like try and read a book and I'll get like 10 pages in or so and just be like, I'm not really feeling it, and put it down for now, and then just like never pick it up again because I have literally over 1,000 books on my TBR on Goodreads. So it just like vanishes into the abyss and I forget about it. I'm trying to think recently of something that I struggled to get through. I feel like the ones that I've read recently that I haven't really enjoyed, I've just like sped through them. Like Shadow and Bone, I was like, it's alright. But they're super quick reads, so I just like sped through them so I could read Six of Crows, which was. Okay. After much discussion and debate and searching through the Goodreads app, I'm going to go with A Perfect Amish Romance by Shelley Shepherd Gray. I just found it really like childish, and like I think it was supposed to be, you know, like super sweet and like chaste because it's Amish people, and like, but it just felt like too sweet and chaste and like just kind of childish, and they just like acted like they were in junior high kind of when they were supposed to be like adults, and I was like, when's this gonna get better? And then also it's part of like a bookmobile series, but the bookmobile is like not a huge part of it. It's just kind of like what connects the characters and how they like meet. But like the bookmobile lady's not really a huge part of it. So that was really disappointing because that's why I picked it up in the first place. So yeah, that one was a bit of a struggle to get through because I was like, can you guys just like maybe talk to each other like adults? And they were like, no, not allowed. So yeah, we're gonna go with that one. Question number 12. What are 3 of your main book goals for 2021? So I have my Goodreads challenge where I want to read 169 books this year, which is one more than last year. I also set myself a challenge to reread at least 1 book a month because I have a lot of books that I own. Obviously, as we found out, I have like 400 of them. And I've read pretty much all of them. And I keep looking at them being like, wow, great books. Love them so much. I should reread them. And then I don't because I'm like, I have to read like 169 books in a year. Ugh. So now part of that goal is to reread 1 book a month. And for my 3rd goal, I have like 3 different reading challenges I'm trying to complete throughout the year. So like I have the Indigo reading challenge, the Pop Sugar reading challenge and the Book Riot Read Harder challenge that I'm trying to complete, which are like ways to kind of read outside of my comfort zone and like expand my reading horizons, and also like I love a fun little like book scavenger hunt. So we're trying those out too. Sorry if you can hear some like noise in the background. There's like what sounds like a family and like 6,000 children moving and dropping things in the hallway. But that's just the joy of living in an apartment. Question number 13. Have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader by inspiration or by your incessant nagging? I did that to my boyfriend. I was like, listen, I know you don't read a ton, but you have to at least read the Harry Potter series, or we're gonna be missing a lot. There's gonna be a lot of like trains passing in the night kind of stuff going on. So yes, I did that to my boyfriend. I definitely thought this question said before, did you ever convert someone to a read? Like, did you ever get someone to enjoy a book through like nagging or whatever? And I'm just gonna answer that question too, because I have a fun story about my time in junior high. So me and two of my friends were like super huge Harry Potter fans. We had this other friend who was into the Twilight fandom, and we were like, this is unacceptable. You cannot be allowed to have poor taste like that. Sorry, Twilight fans. And basically like nagged her into reading the Harry Potter series and converted her into a big Harry Potter fan, and then spent like a lot of our junior high school experience just like having our entire personalities being about Harry Potter. So it was very fun, and would highly recommend nagging your friends to join you in whatever cult fandom you're currently in. The last question is, describe what books mean to you in 5 words. Everything? Doesn't have to be a sentence though, so I can just say 5 different words. I was gonna say 5 separate words, because trying to finagle a sentence into 5 words seems really like too much for me right now. So let's see. Escape, imagination, creative. Now I just feel like I'm in like a junior high English class. Exploration, and I'm just gonna say it. Everything. We're just gonna say it. We're just, I'm committing. This tag has obviously shown that I am like 160% addicted to books. So I'm just gonna admit it. Books are everything. I'm going to also take my boyfriend's suggestion. Can't stop, won't stop, ever. Or does that count as like 4 words? Stop is just repeated twice. Books are love. Books are life. So there we have it. Obviously, I am very addicted to books. It's probably fine. I'm sure that I have a personality somewhere underneath all of these books. But, that's for future us to find. So thanks so much for joining me for this video. I hope you had fun. I know I did. It was very illuminating. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Today I'm going to be doing a book tag. Book tag. Nah. Maybe. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of stuff we're gonna have to cut out of this video. It's not appropriate, my parents watch these. So I have my Goodreads challenge where I want to read 169 books this year, which is 1 more than last year. Don't do it.
Nice.
I did read 168 books last year for the meme of it so that you could enjoy. Oh, surprise boyfriend appearance. Should just do that and it can be like the Yeti.